Welcome to Trident Wargaming, a podcast dedicated to all aspects of tabletop wargaming. Your hosts are Bill and Andy.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Trident Wargaming podcast. This is episode 2. I'm one of your hosts, Bill.
And I'm Andy.
And today we have a special guest lined up for you. For over 4 years, he's been bringing us games set in the Horus Heresy, making some of the most immersive tables and battle reports we've ever seen. Forge father of the 30K channel, Mr. David Brains.
G'day, hi, hello.
Hello.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's very kind of you.
Yeah, and thank you for taking time out of your day to join us. I know where you're at right now is in the mid-afternoon. For us, it's early morning here. So.
Okay, yeah, Sunday afternoon. So I'm not doing very much, so it's good.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I guess we'll kick right into just we'll start with a couple questions and just see how it goes. One of the questions I always wanted to ask, and being a subscriber on the channel myself, when you got your first battle report posted, when you first started doing the subsystem and you had like that White Scars and Mechanicum battle report, what was the feeling that you had, if you can take us back, when the subs started to come in, you're getting the views, you're getting the feedback?
Yeah, do you know what? No one's asked me that, and that's a really, really great question. Well, I don't know really to answer that. I guess for me, it was the realization of a dream. Prior to this, I'd lived in New Zealand for quite a long time. I'd lived there for about 7 years, and I'd seen guys online do battle reports, and I loved watching them, and I just felt that I could do something different and orientated to someone like me in the Horus Heresy, because I think Heresy players are a different breed to normal people. I'm not saying they're better or they're worse. They're just different because of the nature of the hobby, the cost of it, the access to it, and everything else. And I just felt that that I wasn't being represented online in battle reports. And I figured, when I get back to England, because I went back to a reasonably well-paid job, more than I was getting over in New Zealand, I thought, I'm going to try and explore this thing, and it's been a dream of mine to do it, and I thought I'll give it a whirl. So when the first one got filmed, it was filmed in a village hall with 3 other friends in Huntingdon, which is actually where I live now. At the time I was living in Peterborough. We'd filmed 2 games in a day, and we were all knackered. I think we'd worked for about 15 hours. It was horrendous. And when it finally went out, I kind of sat back and watched on YouTube myself my own battle report, and it was such a great feeling, because I'd had this concept in my mind for such a long time on 2 different countries, and for me it was a massive combination of seeing a project through, because like most people, I'm guilty of starting 3 or 4 armies and finishing half, or putting some shelves up and only managed to put 1 shelf up and not 2. And it was finally, after all this time, effort and money and brain power, it finally come together, and there was a battle report online, just like the people that I'd watched and idolized over the years. And I wouldn't say part of that number, but I was hopefully on my way to producing more. And it was so exciting, so thrilling, that something that you make or you produce or you can think of turns into a reality, and people like it, and that is just unbelievable.
No doubt. I can imagine. It was probably just definitely like the realization of all your hard work and the dream, right? It's coming alive. So that's definitely cool. I'm glad we were able to get some of that insight, right?
And
it's neat.
And that's just it. Something that you love and you've created, you've put out there, and you're seeing it being successful as well, right? It's just such a super awesome feeling.
It is, but with anything created content, whether you film yourself BMXing and grinding off rails, or you're skateboarding, or you're jumping off railings, or whatever, to battle reports, there's always that, you put yourself out there. I mean, if you told me 5 years ago that you'd be on the internet and people would see your face and you'd be talking about stuff, I would have thought you were just having a laugh. And it's a really surreal feeling, because no matter how good you think you are, you're never the best at anything, and people are more than happy to point that out to you. And I think as well as producing these games, and I really enjoy it, you have to deal with the flip side to it, because not everyone likes what you do, and you have to understand that. Because I got really, I got really upset about it, really emotionally. I'm pouring my heart out on the screen. I'm putting so much money into it. I'm so invested, and this one guy or this one person doesn't like the way I've interpreted that rule, because let's face it, it's not a perfect rule set. So, and then like, oh, I don't like the way you painted that, or you moved that wrong, or I don't like the fact that that faction won, or this, and you just think, wow, so, it gives you one hand and takes with another, doesn't it? It's a really, it's a really fickle thing, I think, isn't it?
For sure. Now, just to expand on kind of what you were talking about, when you first kicked off, or even at any point, as everything, there's always sometimes like technical difficulties. Can you tell us when you had a technical difficulty, be it with picture or audio, and how you were able to overcome it? Like, I'm sure there was a time, or when did you catch it even, when you were filming?
Well, I think there's two areas to address here rather. There's the actual technical, which is the camera, the sound, and the equipment, and then there's the actual gameplay. So I think the whole time I've been going, I think there's been about 4 or 5 games which I couldn't release. A couple due to the fact that I didn't really know what I was doing, and I managed to delete stuff off a hard drive and completely lost 2 games. Yeah, horrendous. Guy came down from, I don't know, maybe 100 miles up north, and we filmed a fantastic game. He kicked my ass. It was so good. Mechanicum versus Mechanicum. There's a guy called Tom, and he had blue Mechanicum, I had red Mechanicum. Fantastic game. And I just deleted the game one afternoon. I wasn't feeling particularly well, or I was tired, and I deleted it. But then right through to filming midway through, turn 4, turn 5, towards the end of the game, and you record a game, or those turns rather, and you lose the sound, or you don't plug the microphone in, or I usually have my earphones in whilst I'm holding the camera. I can hear the sound, but sometimes in the heat of the game, you take your earphones off, you don't put them back on, you forgot to put the mic jack back inside of the camera, and you film 3 turns of nothing, and there's no way I can remember, and no,
that's true.
But then on the flip side to that, there's games where I filmed an amazing Zone Mortalis game with a couple of friends, and we used Cold in the Void, Poison Air Rule, we used the blip tokens and all this jazz. And for some reason, we used Cold Void, Poison Air I think it was for the other guy who I was playing, and I didn't use it for mine. And then when we did remember to use it for me, I interpreted it differently, and it was completely wrong. So I got down to editing it at the end of it, and I think, that's just rubbish. It just doesn't work because we got the rules completely wrong. And you just have to delete it, because if you put it out and then play, we messed up turn 3, turn 4, sorry guys, blah, 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 I don't think it's good enough. So yeah, I've just had to delete stuff because it's just been rubbish. Sounds awful, doesn't it? But it's been rubbish.
Well, that's kind of the way it is, right? Like I've noticed, like throughout, your posting of videos, like there is a consistent, maintained quality, and I think that in itself is like a testament to the dedication that you're putting out, like, for these videos. So that's good on you for that, because I can definitely imagine after all the time and energy getting invested for filming, just to be like, you know what, I can't even use this. It's rough, but at the same time, you're keeping that consistent level of quality. So no, that's very good.
But you learn such a valuable lesson from that, because as I mentioned earlier, the rule set isn't perfect, and every so often stuff creeps in. You think, that should have been interpreted differently, or we should have done that way, and we can't get it right, because I don't think anybody in the world has a 100% perfect game. Well, I know they don't, but we certainly try our best. But if you make a technical issue and you forgot to put the camera on, or you forgot to do this and that, then you learn such a valuable lesson, because you end up double, triple checking, which, if you're a professional cameraman or sound man, or you're in TV production or movie production, whatever, then you've got to be at the top of your game, haven't you? Because if not, you don't earn any money. So yeah, you learn very, very valuable lessons.
Definitely.
Yeah, and it's always an ongoing learning lesson too, right? Because there's always something new that comes up.
Yeah. Or if you get like a faction playing against another particular faction. They've got a special rule, which, you know, I think the classic example was when we did the Emperor's Children versus the Talons of the Emperor with Matt and James. You know, and the rules interactions between demons, Sisters of Silence, and the Custodies is just mind-boggling. You know, and that was a really tough game to rules lawyer, because, you know, at a certain range this interacted at that range, and then this didn't interact with that, but that did. So if that was active, that didn't work, and it was just mind-blowing.
No doubt.
Mm.
No doubt. Well, Andy, if you got any questions for David here.
So I have one. It's kind of a hypothetical kind of question, and it's so if you were able to travel back in time, when you first started creating and filming, what would be something, and probably like one of the most important things that you would try to tell yourself that you've learned from your whole experience right now?
You're not going to like the answer. In all honesty, don't do it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that is really negative and counterintuitive, but I would say don't do it, because the amount of stress, sleepless nights, and sheer roller coaster of emotion that the 30K channel has caused me over the last 4 years, I do find myself every often thinking, why did you bother? And I think if I think about the money, and I don't think about the money, how much has gone into it, well, no, that's a bit of lie. That's a lie, because if it didn't have the money, it wouldn't be where it was, because I would just be like some guy in a garage, which is absolutely fine. But in my mind, that's not what I wanted to produce. So I knew embarking on that journey that it would take me to where I am. But at the same time, oh man, I kind of wish I hadn't started. But I also get to a point where I just think I'm just having the most amazing time, and I really, really do enjoy it. So for me, it's a really double-edged sword. But I also know that if I didn't do battle reports, I would be doing something completely different. And I am on my way to doing that at the moment, but it's taken 4 years longer. So it's a real tough one. It's huge. You know, I've lost jobs, relationships, and friendships over the 30K channel. And whether that's good or bad, I don't know. But I am here where I am today. So who knows?
Yeah, it's quite a big change for just your whole life, I guess, by putting all that energy and love of the game and time and money for filming and whatnot, production. So, you know, totally understand where you're coming from that answer, right? But all in all, the hobby, we love it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you know what? I do think back, and I think to the future. You know, can I continue to expand? Can I bring on other people and do different game systems and stuff? And then I think, well, I know how much it costs to get to that point. So, to go back to your original question, I kind of wish that maybe I just focused on Zone Mortalis, because I love Zone Mortalis, and there is so many options to do that. I think you could just film a game a week every week for the next 5 years and still have a different game of Zone Mortalis every week. And I wish I'd specialised that on particular, rather than branching out into the much larger 6x4 standard gaming format for 30K. So I kind of wish I'd stayed in a tiny little niche and perhaps done it every other weekend, and not perhaps gone to a point where you were getting subscribers and charging them content, because as soon as you start asking for people's money, there's that commitment to fulfill, and it's not a bad thing, it's an amazing thing, but at the same time that comes pressure, and you've got to reinvent yourself every week. It's got to be new, it's got to be fresh, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, because if not, people then turn off. And if you've got to a point where you're kind of relying on X amount of money that comes in every month, and you've reduced your hours from your other job, then that becomes a real demand, doesn't it? So
yeah, for sure.
Definitely. I don't know, but at the same time, working for yourself and doing your own thing is an amazing feeling, but it's definitely demanding. But I kind of wish, well, see, the thing is as well, of course, you know, I've been doing it for so long now, I know I could have done it so much more cheaply in the future. So if I cancel the channel off tomorrow and start, I don't know, Zone Mortalis channel or whatever you want to call it. I know I could do it for far cheaper, but you don't know that until you've been through it, do you? So it's, you know, hindsight and all that jazz. But
Definitely.
I don't know. It's tough. I don't know.
That's good. It was good. That was good.
Yeah. No, that's a great answer for real.
Oh, if someone wants to start one, I can definitely tell you how to get going for a lot cheaper than what I spent. But but you know, it's fun.
Yeah.
Great stuff. You got another question there, Bill?
Yeah, for sure. With going into, you know, obviously there is a high workload when developing and creating the content. When is the last time you were able to play a game of 30K for yourself with just a couple of mates having some pints without like filming wise?
Well, there's two occasions which stick in my mind. At the moment, well, you have to understand the context of where we are at the moment. So we're in December, and we're currently in second lockdown in the UK. But between first and second lockdown, Boris, who does some editing for the channel, has been on a few Adeptus Titanicus games, and he was my partner in, or my opponent rather, in the Corona Chronicles. So Boris lives in Cambridge, isn't too far away from me, and him and I have been playtesting a spin-off of 30K. We've been playtesting that for a while between lockdown, and it's shaping up to really good. And I've sent some models away to be commissioned, and they're in France at the moment, so they're coming back very soon, hopefully January, and we can film this little spin-off we've got, a little 6-game spin-off in February, March, hopefully. So that'll be cool. And it'll probably go out in May, I would imagine, May or June.
Nice.
So it's really cool. And that was really fun. So we proxied everything because we don't have everything here because it's all being painted and stuff. So we proxied everything with just my iron hands and Mechanicum, which was pretty cool. And we just had an absolute blast. And, you know, this doesn't work. You know, we wrote lists and lists and lists and stats for stuff 10 times over to get it right. And I thoroughly enjoyed that. It was really fantastic. But I think the last game of 30K I played for myself was, well, it was probably on the channel, but it's different to myself and a couple of beers, like you say. So I'd say well over, do you know what? I think it was at a tournament, Scribes of War in Stratford upon Avon, run by Chris Gibson. Chris Gibson's been on the channel a load of times, Alpha Legion guy, lovely bloke. And it was at a tournament there. I think it was 5 games over the weekend, and I was absolutely knackered. I've forgotten how 5 games over 2 days is an absolute killer. I had a really good time. It was lots of fun. So I think that was the last time I played for myself with some friends or at a local club. So long time. And that's the thing. If you do the thing you love, you tend to not do it yourself. You do it for other people, you know?
Yeah.
It's just the way it is, I guess. But yeah, it's
No,
been
definitely.
too long.
I can imagine, and as you're playing, right, it's always probably in the back of your mind, like, oh, we could be filming this. It could be the best game ever, right? Like, as you're going through.
Yeah, my Thalax list always does amazing off camera, but on camera it's rubbish. That's the best way to put it. It's always the way, and I really want to showcase that it can do the business, but it doesn't always do it. But yeah, it's such a shame. But you know, with the coronavirus at the moment, nobody's playing games, and I think not just for me, but for everyone, that's super tough, right? It's awful because it's the thing that we all love and we can't do.
That's true. That's true. Right now, like even where we are, we're kind of in a state of lockdown as well, and we haven't been able to really engage and get on with our gaming. The only real interactions or stuff like we're doing right now is just talking on Skype or Discord and you know having little hobby sessions and whatnot. So trying to keep the momentum up. So
yeah, I think that's the thing to think about as well, is because ultimately we will get back to playing games and stuff, and I think now it, more than any other time in our lives, this has just been an amazing opportunity to paint and get that plastic or resin pile down and get onto the projects that we always put to the back of our shelves and stuff. So I think from my perspective anyway, I've managed to get stuff done that I didn't think I was going to get it done this year. So in a way, a lot of the stuff I'm doing this year will pay dividends next year. So it's
for
been
sure.
good for me.
Yeah, definitely. Going after that backlog is always the number one intention, for sure. For sure.
Oh yeah.
Do you have another question for him, Andy?
Yeah, for sure. So what's one of your most memorable moments of filming a session of 30K or Titanicus or Zone Mortalis? What like really just blew your mind? It was such a great day. You're hanging out with your guests or your friends, you know, and it's one of those games that you just can tell that story to other friends about. You know what I mean?
Oh, I don't know. That's a very hard question. I genuinely, well, I don't know. Whatever the game we're filming, I love to watch, and I love to, and I love that it's being produced and that people can enjoy it. I think that's where I get my satisfaction from. So whether it's a 500-point escalation game, or whether it's six, we haven't done 6K aside, or whether it's a large game like 2-3K aside or 4K aside rather, I just genuinely enjoy watching it, because I know that if I enjoy the game, I know that hundreds or thousands of people out on the internet will enjoy it too. So, I can get into a tactical squad taking on, I don't know, a Castellax, as much as I can get involved with a Primarch going against a Falchion, for example. I don't think I can pick one out, but I just genuinely, I do enjoy it, because I know that someone else on the other side of the world will watch this and hopefully get the same enjoyment out of it that I have. And I'm there for the players as well. Like, it has to be quite brisk business when you come to film the game, because there is so much to do on the day. But I try to make them feel as welcomed as possible, and I feed them, and we talk about lots of things. And when I was filming a game every weekend, I got a little glimpse into this person's life that I've never met before, or chatted on social media, or seen that person's stuff on Instagram or whatever, and I get to spend a day with that person, and I get to learn about themselves, their family, and what they do for their hobby and their job, and I love that aspect to it, as well as watching their army battle it out at 2, 3, 4K or whatever. So for me, every game is kind of special, really. But I must admit, one game I did enjoy recently, which I perhaps should have mentioned earlier, was that the game that I played against, I think his name's Mark or Ian Webber. I'm so sorry. He had the most amazing militia force I've ever seen in my entire life. It was unbelievable. And I had the pleasure of playing 1,200 points, Thalax versus his militia. I was on about 3 months ago, I think, and Ian Webber, his name is. And I had the most amazing time that day. And it was a super interesting guy as well. And we talked about his hobby and what he does and stuff. And yeah, I was blown away by that day. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, that was cool. Really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, and just like after you said there, it sounds like you create these bonds with these people, right? They have the same love of the hobby that you do, and they come into your channel to play, and like you said, you learn who they are, kind of thing, and you make these bonds, especially if they probably come back and return to the channel at a later date, right?
Yeah.
So it's an awesome. It sounds like it's a super awesome feeling that, like, you get to learn what this person's about in a short period of time, but you can relate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of this hobby, because it doesn't matter if you, I don't know, work for the government or if you're a forklift driver. It doesn't matter. Your common interest is this stuff where you collect plastic models and paint them. I mean, how ridiculous does the whole thing sound? But but you've got this innate common ground. And I find this with football, right? So a really good parallel to this is football. So I work with a load of guys, and every other conversation is football, right? So although we have the job in common and we can talk about the job, I can't talk to them in terms of football, because I don't understand football. I don't play it. I've never been into it. And it's just like, it's the mental thing, because anybody can walk into a bar pretty much anywhere in the world and know what football or soccer is, right? And they go, oh, what about this team? What about that team? Blah, blah, blah. and I can't contribute to the conversation because I don't have any reference points or anything to talk about. But when you get all these hobbyists, all these 30k players, 40k players, whatever, in one place, it doesn't matter what they do. Their common interest is 30k or 40k, and that's their football, isn't it?
Yes.
And you can just talk to anybody about anything about that, and you can say, oh, what about Magnus? Or you say, what about Horus? And it doesn't matter, even if you collect 40k, you know who the Emperor is, you know who Horus is, you know some of the Primarchs, and there's just a great level of conversation you can have straight away, even if you collect different game systems, or if you collect Aeronautica Imperialis, you collect Titanicus, it doesn't matter, you know. And I think that is really cool. And when we get to the channel, and you know, we talk about our lives and stuff, and then we talk about the channel, and then we talk about their hobby and my hobby, and it's just a really great place to be. I love it. It's a great day, lots of fun. Can I make a correction? It's Webster. I think it's Mark Webster, the militia guy. I'm trying to search for his name on Instagram. I'm so sorry. I have a terrible memory. It's awful. Webster, there he is. Oliver Thomas, his name is. Sorry, Oliver Thomas.
Oliver Thomas.
Jesus, my memory's awful.
It happens to the best of us.
I'm sure you got a lot of stuff going up top there with everything, right? With dates and names, and it's all good. It's
pretty wild. I always like to credit the person, you know, even if I steal a joke from someone, I'll always credit the person for the joke, because I think it's only fair. But yeah, Oliver Thomas, great guy. Sorry.
I'm just peeking on Instagram, and I'm taking a look at that militia force. It's quite interesting looking, for sure.
Oh man, it's wild. It's so nice as well. You know, it's more modern day, you know, Allied United Forces or whatever. But he's done such a great job of it, and you know, he does a bit of 3D printing, and he models stuff on, you know, original. I'm not very good at history. Maybe World War II tanks. I don't know, or modern day APCs. But yeah, it's sensational. So good.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Mm.
Very cool. Very cool.
What about you though? How have you? Because obviously you guys did battle reports for a period of time. How are you getting on with them? Because it's a tough business, or it's a time consuming thing, as we've discussed. So, are you continuing, or what's the deal with that?
It's definitely a big time consuming thing. Recently, what ended up happening is, just with some of the different directions that we were taking on the channel, we ended up some of us ended up kind of parting ways, myself included. And I know there's still is a guy who's trying to continue doing it, but obviously it's a big workload for one guy.
Yeah.
It was kind of, the decision came from just trying to, I guess, like, pull in and reset and try and figure out either a different system of doing it, to, again, like, always try and maintain a certain level of quality to it.
Yeah.
And like, personally, I felt like there was improvement, you know, that could be made. So I know stepping away was a hard decision, but it definitely felt like the right one. And then obviously, like, rebranding here with Trident, I don't know if battle reports are going to be in the future like we had before, or if it's just going to be mainly, you know, maybe filming like the iconic big battles, like maybe a particular battle on Kelth, or, you know, like a Siege of Terra moment or something like that. But
very cool.
For right now, it's mostly just kind of sharing like hobby experiences and
little
tips
videos
and tricks, little bits of everything with painting and modeling and whatnot. So
right.
And then if we ever get, you know, whenever we get events going on over here as well, we kind of would like to, you know, film a little bit of that and how's it going, and share that with the crowd as well. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
No, it definitely, and like I've said it before, watching your battle reports on the channel, which which I'll be like straight up. If you guys, anyone listening right now, if you haven't subscribed or you've never looked at the 30kchannel.com, I highly recommend you do. They do have videos on YouTube, but the channel, like the site itself, is so much more immersive. There's just a plethora of videos for you out there, and I believe it's £450 a month, which works out to $9 a month for us here in North America.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's well worth the money. Like I'll be honest, hands
Thank
down,
you.
it's well worth the money. So I definitely appreciate the content. So anyone out there listening, please check it out, because you will not be disappointed. There's a ton of videos that go back for 4 years,
Yeah.
and yeah, there's something for everybody on there, I think.
It's
for
very
sure.
kind.
So,
Yeah, there's definitely a ton on there. You know, I think last year there was at least a game a week for an entire year, which is pretty cool. So I think there's about 200 pieces of content on there. Not all battle reports, but 90% of them are battle reports. So I think it's weird, isn't it? Because you know you can pay, I don't know, I think I pay £9 a month or something to Netflix, and I can watch multi-million budget movies and, you know, stuff from all over the world. But then I think, well, if I compare it to the channel, it's just one bloke and a load of armies, and you get paid £4.50. I think, well, is it too much? But then at the same time, I think, well, it's so specialist and it covers the one thing that I love if I'm a subscriber, you know. And I think, well, it's probably not that bad. And I subscribe to other battle report websites and Patreons as well that you know triple, quadruple the cost of my channel. And I think, well, actually, you know, it's so specialist and it does what I want it to do. I don't mind paying that sort of money. It's a cup of coffee for me, you know. So yeah, that's very kind. Thank you. But yeah, hopefully it'll fill that 30k void. You know, if people aren't playing games and can't get to see their friends, they can watch a couple hundred other people play some games, I guess, can't they? So
yeah, for sure.
Oh, for sure.
Well, go ahead, Andy.
Oh, I was just gonna mention, like, you know, with all the battle reports that are out there, like there's so much content to watch in this time, right? And like myself, I was really only introduced to like battle ports not maybe a couple years ago.
Okay.
And yours was actually one of the first that I've ever watched. So
awesome.
Yeah, like I was never really a guy just to go out and watch them, right? And I was always tinkering, trying to paint, or, you know, build stuff, or doing, you know, the behind the scenes editing for events or filming or whatever. But yeah, like currently right now is the time to like deep dive into the channel and check out the battle reports and, you know, the little series that you have going on and whatnot as well, right? Like the setting the scene episodes that you have and whatnot.
Yeah,
like all that stuff. It's great. It's awesome. I just love it. So
I love doing those. I think they're my favorites. I think for me, you know, when I first set out on it, I said, you know, my boards have got to be different, because I think every channel needs a point of difference. So mine is firstly 30k. There's not many people doing 30k. Then the second, I wanted to build boards that I'd never seen before, and I kind of, you know, it's kind of evolved from the first boards that I did build to the boards that I build now, and they are lots of fun. And I know they're messy, and I know they're a massive pain, and they're not really achievable if you just want a pickup game with your friend in your front room. But if you've got a garage and you can use a chop saw, or you can use a handsaw and just build a board of sides, you know, the amount of versatility that you'll get with those rocks and that aquarium aggregate mixed in with your Forge World or Games Workshop terrain, you'll never be short of a board ever again, because it's so cheap. I mean, that's the massive driver for the channel, because any money I do get, I put it into models and paint and equipment that allow me to keep producing. And if I'm spending, because to me what's really important is a new board every week, unless I'm using the same board I built from the week before. But I try to do a new board every week, and to do that, if I did it in Games Workshop Terrain and Realm of Battle boards, that's not sustainable. So it has to be cheap so it can all be different. So that's one of the major drivers, really. But
otherwise you're like you would be building custom terrain,
you
know, and that's a big time sink too, right? Like
time, effort, and money. They're the three things you need for anything, really. And building custom terrain saps all three of those. But I do believe there will be a point next year where certainly time and effort will be in abundance next year, which is what I'm really working towards right now, really hard. So there is a plan to have custom build boards, but at more of a base level, and then stuff can be added on top. So they're still quite versatile, but they can be used again and again, but still have a bit of variation to them, which is really cool. But one of the biggest problems I face at the moment, as someone keeps pointing out all the time, a nice gentle reminder in the comments below, that the channel has a very distinct lack of trees and green spaces in the battle reports. It's all broken buildings, industrial zones, sandy deserts, snowy, rocky outcrops, blah blah blah. And again, it's down to cost, because it's a lot easier for me to build those, and they are effective. I don't build them because I'm lazy. I build them because they are effective. But there needs to be some greenery in there, and there needs to be some trees, and there needs to be some grassy knolls and various other bits and bobs. So that's my focus for next year, is to introduce a different color, because in terms of painting, we look at models and there's a more volume of red on that model than there is yellow or green or blue, and I build the boards in the same way. The backdrop is gray and desolate, and then the high contrast of the yellow and the red of the Blood Angels or the Imperial Fists, whatever. So there needs to be a lot more green and light brown introduced into the boards, which I think is really, really important, because not everywhere in the Horus Heresy was played on a blasted rocky surface or in a abandoned city.
That's true. That's true. You can always tell them, it was green before, but there was bombardments, and now it's not. So
virus bomb ate all of the life on the planet, so it's just a husk. But yeah, it's so true. We need some green on the channel, so it will come. I promise.
That's the one thing too with, I guess, filming and these beautiful armies that are on there. You want to concentrate, I guess, more of like on the people's plans, like miniatures, right, and their paint jobs. Yeah. So if you've got something in the background that is just popping and like drawing away from the model, I can see that as being a little bit of an issue too for filming and what to focus on, kind of thing, and even the person watching's eye, right? Like, don't get me wrong, I love terrain. I love seeing that awesome looking terrain, the setups, all that, and of course the models, right?
Yeah.
So if you can make the whole thing jive together, which in your vids, like, definitely have done.
Cool, thank you.
So no problem.
The problem is Games Workshop itself, and I know that sounds really weird, but their terrain is so good, and it's so detailed, and it's so easy to paint because of the way they design it. So although it looks good, it's designed to be painted quite quickly and quite easily with their painting system, which from a company and a manufacturer, of course, why wouldn't you? However, when you then bring a Realm of Battle board with all of their terrain and all their scatter terrain and their buildings and their this and their that, it does look great. But then when you stick a model in front of it, it's really hard to discern the model, because the model is really detailed, really well painted, against a backdrop which is really detailed, really well painted, and models get lost in the sheer detail of the Games Workshop terrain. So the way to temper that is to use natural rock and sand, like I do, with a Games Workshop building, like a silo, or the Necromunda stuff, with the clean lines of the Heresy models, because Heresy models are different to 40k models. They've got less detail on them because it's just armor plating and it's quite simplified, and I do prefer the Heresy aesthetic, and that's the way to temper it. So that's why I don't use a lot of Games Workshop stuff, because it's too good. It's too good in context of filming battle reports. So the simplified buildings which I use and the rock and sand helps make the models stand out, because let's face it, people are there for the models and the armies. They're not there for the scenery and the terrain. Ultimately, I think when they get there, they think, okay, fine, that's good. But I think ultimately they're there to watch Ultramarines and Ultramarines and Iron Warriors, aren't they? They're not there to watch a rock and some sand. So
100%. I know myself, I've drawn a lot of inspiration, like for my Space Wolves army, watching the battle reports. Like, I know two that stick out really big in my mind were when Pete and Dan had the Space Wolves versus Thousand Suns series.
Yeah, that was awesome. That.
And then one of the ones that stuck out in my mind as well is when Josh and Derek, Space Wolves versus Alpha Legion. That was such a great game. I enjoyed that a lot, actually.
That was a good game, wasn't it? Yeah.
I had a good time watching it, having some laughs. So that was good.
Oh, great stuff. Yeah, and both of those guys are great. They've both been on multiple times, and yeah, really lovely guys to be with. And you know, because they've been on so long now, they're old pros, you see. So they know how the channel works. They know the format, and they just deliver it really well, really punchy. So yeah, they're a joy to film games like that. So yeah, lots of fun.
Oh, that's awesome. It's definitely it must be, I guess, kind of I want to say, I guess, like a humbling feeling, like knowing that you've had such a great impact on the heresy community.
Yeah, I guess, and people tell me that quite a lot, and I don't mean that in an arrogant way. It's just that I just find that very hard to believe, because I didn't get into this to become famous, and I certainly didn't get it to buy speedboats and model girlfriends. So I guess, and I think if it helps some guy in Australia or someone in Europe to help build their army, because one guy has played it and they've watched the game and they thought, well, that unit works really well and that helps, and then maybe it changes their list, or it helps them with painting, or it puts them in touch with someone they can ask questions about an army that was painted that has been on the channel, then that's great, you know. But I guess when you set out to do this thing, you never realize where it will go and who it will reach and what impact it will have. And I hope it's positive. I really do. And I think in the majority it's positive, you know. So, but anything, yeah, like I said, anything on the internet is always subjective, isn't it? You know, it's one person's bestest thing in the world and it's another person's worst thing in the world. So it's always a double edge. I think it's tricky.
No, for sure. For 2021, do you have any wish lists for Heresy?
Oh, well, there was this thing recently on Instagram, wasn't it, last week or something, about, and I do know the person that started it all off, but they were having a bit of a whinge about an FAQ and stuff, and there's been a bit of a reshuffle at Forge World recently, but we've kind of yet to see the fruits of labour from that person. Well, we've seen some of them, but not all of them. I want models. I want models for rules of stuff we've got. That's what I want, because I'll go back to Mechanicum. You know, Myrmidon Destructors and Secutors have had rules for models. Excuse me, have had rules for weapons that we haven't got a model for, and it really, really bugs me. So I wish that they would just, Forge World would just perhaps produce models for rules we've got. And that's from a selfish point of view, because I'm not an amazing modeler or hobbyist, if I'm honest with you. I'm not bad, but I'm not amazing. I'm not as good as some of the guys out there. And for me, I would rather just pay 30 quid and have 3 different weapons I can use on my models, rather than me buying 80 quid's worth of kit to get 3 weapons, to then spend 10 hours converting and chopping my fingers in half and pouring blood all over my workbench to make something look like something they've written in the rules, because it's just bonkers. I haven't got that much time. I just want to be able to buy it and glue it on and paint it. But you know, I want guys who have got models that have got rules for models. I want them to have models as well, like the I can't pronounce it. Is it the Conqueror Terminators for the Night Lords? I want those out, so people can start buying and using those. And you know, we get some great conversions and stuff on the channel, but you always feel a bit left out if you're waiting for a prime target a prime unit to come out and you haven't got a model for it. It's really frustrating, because you either spend so much time and effort building and converting, and then the model comes out, then you don't buy it because you've already spent so much time, effort, money converting it. So ultimately, Forge World loses out because they took so long to release a model, and then they go, well, if no one's buying this particular unit, then we won't make it anymore. But then for the 100 people that convert their own models, there's 1,000 people that want to buy it, but they don't make it. And then people moan, and I'm one of them, but they've stopped making stuff because they're not selling. So it's just like it's just a
Yeah.
mind-boggling situation.
Just a vicious cycle.
It is. It definitely is.
It's horrible. But I
Vicious.
think ultimately I want to know what the next 2 or 3 years looks like, because if we think when book 1 came out and we're at book 9 now,
Yeah.
I don't even know the passage of time. Is that 7, 8, 9 years? I don't know. And
Going on almost 9.
Okay, cool, good guess. I just want to know when it's going to kind of end, because I don't think the rule set will change, because I think they'll wait until they finish the Black Books, because why would you invalidate a Black Book series halfway through or towards the end and then bring out book 10 and it's got complete new rules? So we kind of know that the rule set's safe enough for until the Black Books are finished, but when is that? Is that 4 years? Is that 3 years? You know, my girlfriend wants to have children, so I kind of need to plan around saving for their education, you know, because I can't afford heresy and a college degree for my child. So
I feel that.
Bill.
I just want
That's pretty good.
I want a roadmap is what I want. I want a timeline. And I think that would help a lot of people out, because they can plan their armies, because let's face it, heresy is a huge investment of money. And I wish I was into 40k because it's a lot cheaper, but I'm not. There's nothing wrong with 40k. It just doesn't do it for me. You know, and then people need to budget. You know, if it's choice between paying rent and eating or having a new, I don't know, Sakaran battle tank, then you got to feed yourself and put a roof over your head, haven't you? And it's just nice to have a roadmap so you can make those informed decisions. Because at the moment, I'm finding myself, Forge World release a model on, you know, announces a model the week before. It comes out on a Friday. I pre-order probably 3 times more stock than I need, because I don't want to get into a situation where I'm 2 years down the line and I've got an idea for a scenario in my head that requires 3 of those models that were released 3 years ago and I can't buy them anymore. So I'm kind of stockpiling stuff. So from a Forge World perspective, it's great because they're making a ton of money out of me. But at the same time, it doesn't do me any favors, because I've got, and I promise you, I've got boxes and boxes of models which I've just panic buyed because I'm worried they're going to go out of stock. So that's not good, you know. And if I'm at the moment not working and I've got to sell models, and there's been armies for sale on the internet because people need to pay their rent and they need to feed their kids and whatever, and it's expensive. So I want a roadmap because I want to make an informed decision about my future. And I know that sounds silly because we're plating plastic models, but it's true because they're so expensive.
Oh, definitely.
Mm.
Definitely. We are getting close to the end of our time with you.
Okay.
I do have 2 questions that have plagued, you know, the hobbyists for many years.
Oh.
First question. Oh, there's 3 actually. I lied. But first question. Would you fight for the Emperor or the War Master?
Oh God, that is so tricky. I think deep down I'm a good person, and I would probably fight for the Emperor. But knowing what Horus knows, it's probably folly, isn't it, to fight for the Emperor? I'm not sure. I'm gonna go with I will fight for the Mechanicum, and they can go either way. So I will fight for whoever pays me enough money or brings enough resource to my planet. I will fight for, I guess.
Bring those STC files, yeah.
That's right.
That's a good one. That's a good answer.
Oh, very nice. And then, do you believe? What's your views on Magnus? Do you think Magnus the Red was wrong?
I knew you was going to ask this. I think if you look at it, yes, he was wrong. He was. I know his intentions were good, but ultimately, he was wrong. I know that will be controversial, I'm sure.
I very much agree with you. So you heard it here first. This is the way it should be. There's a lot of interpretation on there for sure.
It can't be one rule for one and one rule for another, can it? You either stand divided or united you fall. No, united you stand, divided you fall, rather. So
that's right.
Yeah.
It's
a tough one.
Yeah, it's a tragic story, but I definitely agree with you there. I think he was wrong as well.
Yeah, it is a sad story.
And it's always a great question.
Yeah.
No matter where you are at tournament or anything, it's always a great question.
Oh
And-
God, go on.
No, I was gonna say, the last question that I have.
Mm.
Do you think the hype around the Dark Angels' loyalty? Do you think their loyalty is to be questioned? Do you think they're actually loyal, or do you think they're borderline like heretics?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I don't know enough about the Dark Angels. I do read the books, but my retention for information is very poor. So I've read a lot of the books, but remember very little apart from very sort of key points. Only things like Magnus that play such a massive pivotal role in the heresy that I kind of remember. I don't know. Everyone's got their own agenda, haven't they? And it's hard to know for good or for ill, really, because we all, if we remove ourselves from the heresy vernacular for the short term, we all do things because we think they're the right thing to do, or we work towards a goal because it's the right goal. But as with battle reports on the internet, as I said before, it's one person's best thing in the world, or it's another person's worst thing ever made. So it's hard, isn't it? So
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know the answer to that because sometimes it's so personal and individual, isn't it? I think you could look at list building in the same way. I build silly, irrational, emotional lists rather than kind of hardcore math hammer lists. So, are the Dark Angels working to their own agenda? Are they working towards a common goal? Are they divided? I just don't know the answers to that. Who's pulling the strings? Is anybody pulling the strings? Who knows?
Well, fair enough, for sure.
I don't.
I have my own thoughts on that, but as a Space Wolves player, I'm probably biased. So
Okay.
yeah.
That's the thing, everyone's got their own opinions about stuff, whether it's list building, battle reports, made up history, produced in a black book every 2 years. Who knows? I don't know. I'm excited to hopefully discover the truth. At the end, we're obviously at Terra now, and I'm so excited to see the end of that and to see if it all comes out in the wash, as they say. So that's an exciting time to be involved in Heresy, because we've all been playing games over the last 9 years that we've just found out, all towards this one point, on the Vengeful Spirit, and it's coming to a draw now, and that is super exciting because hopefully we'll get some answers explained, and we'll get the questions, those answers we've been searching for. So I think, I know you haven't asked this, but I'm going to take over a little bit, but I just think it's such an amazing time to be in Heresy at the moment, and it's exciting because we're getting so deep into the reason why this all happened, and we all know the end result, but we get to know the nuts and bolts and the reasons why it's happened, and that is super exciting. Very cool.
No, I definitely agree.
Yeah.
That's definitely, No, I agree for sure. It will be interesting to see where it goes. Like, knowing the canon, but they've slowly been changing little bits here and there. Like, I'm not sure if you're caught up with the Siege of Terra books, but it's definitely they're tweaking things as they go. So it'll be interesting to see what their overall end result is.
Yeah, and characters we've read about for God knows how many books, they're starting to die off, aren't they? And it's like, it's so thrilling, and the writers are doing such an amazing job, and we're all on the edge of our seats. But I don't know how long I can sit on the edge of my seat. What, another 2 years, 3 years? It's exhausting.
Yeah, it is.
No, it is, but it's so super exciting with everything that's out there and whatnot, and like just when you got a new player that comes in and he starts getting into the whole stories and whatnot, and the excitement you see in their their faces and whatnot, it's just awesome. It's an awesome time. I truly believe once things start rolling again, the hype is going to be even bigger. People are just going to be gung ho to play, gung ho to get into the fluff, to do these events and checking out battle reports and trying just to get as much as they possibly can in there. So right now is definitely and in the future going to be a great time with the Heresy.
Yeah.
So
Totally. It's so exciting to see like those people getting into it, and you just know what's to come and how it'll unfold for them, and you just think, oh, you're such a lucky person to discover this now, and then you've got all that time to explore. And you know, if you get into Heresy right at the very end when all the books are finished, you think, oh, you lucky person, you've just kind of time warped, haven't you? And you've got all of this laid before you. You've not had to have like 9 years of agonizing waiting of stories to unfold and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, you think, oh, you lucky person, but it's awesome. Sorry, I I can't help myself, but it's good fun.
No, that is good. Again, you guys listening, if you have not checked out the channel, make sure you check out the 30kchannel.com. Check out also David's Instagram for the 30k channel. We'll have links in the description as well, so they can click on those and check it out. And once again, David, thank you so much for being our guest on the channel.
Yes, thank you very much.
We appreciate
My pleasure.
you coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, and wish you all the luck for the future.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, and thanks for listening, everyone. And next episode, we'll be jumping into some bolt action, and I think that'll be pretty exciting. So, as we say here at Trident Wargaming, build it, paint it, play it, and we'll catch you next time.